So, what I want to talk about today is what do you celebrate at Easter besides eggs, um, rabbits, and lots of candy, leftover candy. I don't know how we're going to get rid of all of that stuff. So, 3 years ago, Karen Gottschall talked about many traditions of spring that parallel Easter. And Easter is the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. What my talk is a continuation, and it includes what Unitarians and non-Christians see in this story of spring, rebirth, resurrection. It's a message of resilience because we're seeking to live meaningful lives. And that's what I want to talk about. Of course, we have to do this thinking about the year that we've been through, what's in our rearview mirror, which is COVID. And as a friend of mine put it the other day, it's one Groundhog Day after another. It seems like, oh, didn't we just talk about that? And didn't we talk about that? We keep thinking that the year has really restarted. Well, it had, I'm not sure where we are. So Jesus is not the only one that represents this because spring, agrarian societies have rejoiced because nature and the gods and the universe and the earth provides for us and has done ever since early man came out of whatever evolution that there was. So it's not unique that that Christians would have this story because all communities and faith groups have had that kind of a story. We talk about Estri, Germanic goddess of the East and springtime. And this is just, a European tradition. The sun comes up in the east, and so that's why people look to the east. And then springtime is the season. The vernal equinox is how you enter spring with the full moon, and that's actually the day that my eldest son Tommy was born on March 20th. Every once in a while it's on the 19th or the 21st, but it's almost always on March 20th. So the flowers are there, daffodils, forsythia, growing up in Memphis, Tennessee. Everything was ready to open. Not so much here on March 20th. I've always thought that was one of the things I had to get used to about living in Ohio, is that spring was never as early as it was here. So, and I think that proved it on April 1st when we all had snow flurries this year. The first March that we lived here, actually, Tommy's birthday on March 20th, it snowed. And it snowed out his birthday party that, we had tried to do a birthday party so that he could, make new friends. Moved here in beginning of February, and only one kid could come because it snowed. So it's a season of resurrection, and some are certain that, as the Christian creeds say, that Jesus rose bodily from the dead. And other people think that this is just symbolic. It wasn't in the original texts, and this is another way that the Bible evolves over time. Did this miracle really, really occur or not? Can people really be brought back from the dead, or are we talking about something symbolic here? Ancient people thought that all great men and women could work miracles. So just like Christians looked back and said Jesus worked miracles in his lifetime, and then the miracle of his resurrection happened, they thought that if you're a great man or a great woman, you can work miracles. And that's what made you a god, is these examples that come out. So, but they had no other explanations. And does it need to be a miracle that spring has arrived? No, it's just a sign that time has passed. It's time for spring, and now we're going to move on.
Hey, Sally, I'm still on your first slide, which says, "What do you celebrate at Easter with the eggs?"
Okay.
Is that where I should still be?
Let me see on Zoom.
Because the second slide is the one with Karen Gottschall. The third
Yep, go ahead and show that picture of Karen. This is a picture of Karen and I at Giverny, which is our trip to England, Scotland, Wales, across the Channel, and over to France. Helen was there.
Great. And then the next slide is the one, Cradle of Civilization Celebration. Should I be on that?
That's what I'm going to talk about next.
Okay.
So what I want to talk real briefly about is that what we learned in school is the Cradle of Civilizations was in the Mesopotamia area. And so all the traditions that come out of there, you've got holly, which is in the top left corner, which is all bright colors. And you've got something called hola and also sangren. So back to my notes, holly is Hindu, hola is Sikh. So that's, a different area in the same, a different religion in the same area. And then Songkran is a water festival in Thailand. And they are all the ones with the colors. I think that the fun thing I learned about the Songkran one in Thailand is that they add elephants. The elephants get in on the game. So. All right. So next on the right is Passover. It's celebrated for 7 or 8 days. This is, the Christian faith came out of the Judaism. And we know the story there, the let my people go. Moses takes people away from Egypt. They've been enslaved and they're going into freedom. So it began this year on March 27th and is ending today on April 4th. And then back to my picture. Nowruz is Persian New Year. And so it's the first day of spring, celebrated in Central Asia. So it's more closer to the Mesopotamian area, but in one of the Kyrgyzstans. Again, astronomical, usually around March 21st. And then the last one I put in there, I think I moved it in the wrong place in my notes. It was these Sumerian gods that, again, it's from this Cradle of Civilization area, Egypt, in that central area where there's so much strife and turmoil even today over religion. Next slide. All right. Looking more at Europe, Rome had 3 different kinds of, when I looked that up, it had 3 different kinds. I'm only going to talk about the last one, which is Floria. This is a picture of Flora. And Flora was a goddess, April 28th on the Julian calendar. What to me is symbolic here is that you had social political classes and they eventually butted heads with Christianity, because this is the takeover of, you've got a tradition here, it's gods and goddesses, but we got Christianity coming in, and now we got to merge the two. Another place that they were merged is has to do with just everything that happened in Europe, this Germanic, Celtic area. And here's an interesting one, St. Walpurga. And they have these big celebrations in Central and Northern Europe. And it's 6 months after All Hallows Eve, but it looks almost like Halloween. Big bonfires, dancing, and I just never even heard of it. And it was an English missionary that left England and came back across. So I don't know, all kinds of things. I've actually been to the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. A business trip took me to Mexico City, and it's just amazing to stand there at one end where the pyramid, at the top of the Pyramid of the Sun, the days that I could still climb that thing. You can see it there behind the dancer. And then it faces the Pyramid of the Moon. I like the moon stuff as well as the sun stuff. But they tried to get as high as they could to get to the sun, and then also walk way down to the other end and get as close as you could to the moon. Next slide. Talking about resilience, the Earth is resilient, but are we resilient? Have we been resilient this past year? And do we have faith in the unseen and the unknown and that life goes on? So I put this definition in here, your basic search for the definition: the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness, to have toughness, and the ability of a substance or an object to spring back into shape. And that the ability to mentally or emotionally cope with a crisis or to return to pre-crisis status is what resilience is about. And I've been doing a lot of resilience, and a lot of mental processes and a lot of, counseling and changing my life and, what's been negative and how do I put that behind me? And my sister-in-law, Kim, died in March last year. And it was on her birthday, March 30th, just this week, that my brother texted me, my brother Tom, that her celebration of life is going to be on June 12th of this year. So it's a long time to wait to do this, but I think it was necessary. Kim joined our family under very tense conditions. She was the first non-Catholic. Hers and Tom's was the first non-Catholic wedding. It was very hard for my mom to accept both the wedding and to accept Kim, because Kim was too much like my mom. She was too independent. Never mind. She loved Tom. She pushed forward. She had a unique role in our family. She always reached out individually to what we call the outlaws. There's 7 kids, and then everybody got married in birth order. Theirs was the 6th wedding, and we always called the people people that we married the quote outlaws instead of the in-laws. And so she also always reached out to the grandchildren as they became adults. And so a good example of that, and I benefited from it later on after I moved to Ohio, is that we would connect for lunch. It was always Mexican, just Kim. Her death was so sudden, it took us all by surprise. Even though we were looking back, the signs were there and her body was shutting down. She had had very early breast cancer, but the treatments and just her own health conditions just kind of took their toll. And I think it's taken a year for my brother to heal enough and to be ready to have a celebration. She was a wonderful woman, and she's the mother of his 2 remarkable children, Connor and Kelsey. But he has actually found a spirituality and a new relationship, and these things have made it possible for him to move on. They've made it possible for him to be resilient and to heal enough to, on her birthday, text me and say, I'm going to do this. And another thing that's resilient is I always talk to Kim and I never talk to my brother. So it's good that that's happening too. So I think one more slide, next one. Another, just the old, what did you see on NPR this week or the other day? It was actually Unitarian Universalist Society of Sacramento. Somebody went out and did some interviews in Sacramento with NPR and talked about, well, have things been changed? You know, are people's faith in whatever it is they have a faith in being strengthened? The example was a young woman who had to go home because of COVID, had to live at home, and so she's kind of isolated. And she connected online to her grandparents. UU Society of Sacramento Church, and just started doing that. And so it's a creative way to be able to engage, and she's looking forward to, you know, vaccines, back to school, all that type of stuff. She'll actually go back and be part of that church in person. And then the other example they gave was about an imam in the same community in Sacramento at an Islamic center. And he said that people are coming back to God because they need an explanation. COVID is a hidden enemy that's sweeping through the whole world, is what they called it. That's his quote. And this is, you know, this is the terrible thing that we've seen happening. You know, we blame it on this person, blame it on that. Why is it sweeping the world? Why? And who can we blame? And in this case, at this Islamic center, I think his community, the members were worried that they should be blaming themselves. Have we lived wrong? Have we done something wrong? And so bringing them back to the faith of, you've done nothing wrong. This is happening because of nature. Have faith that, you know, all will be well and we will move on. So next slide. So I have my own resilience plan. You know, what is sweeping through my world, your world. I'm working on starting a business, going back to tea, which I love, and get that damn website, darn website. And I think we'll be fine. My son and I are going to sell this house, and I'm going to buy a condo. And that's just, I have faith that that's what's going to happen. And I'm able to spend time with my family that, you know, none of us have been able to spend time with our families because of COVID, because of physical separation, because of, you know, a lot of reasons in our personal lives. But we did spend it together yesterday. This is a really sweet picture that Susan took, actually. It's Anne's mother came as well. So so that was good too. And then having some kind of faith in eternal. No matter who you are, no matter what you believe, no matter what's, you know, what quote faith you have, do you believe that there's do you believe that there is eternal life or eternal something? And when you look at the spring and you look at the green grass and you look out the windows and see birds fluttering and nests and the things, it's, well, yeah, it comes back. And so that's what we're doing, is we're coming back, and we're just going to come back the best we can and be better each and every time. Just like the earth renews itself, we renew ourselves and in a way that's resilient. So next slide. I used this before. I just wanted to say it again. Lose yourself in the things that you love, for that is where you will find yourself. Going to continue to do that all the days of my life. And I hope everybody else is ready and eager to do the same thing with theirs. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Harmony UU podcast. Check us out online at harmonyuu.org for more details. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search Harmony UU. If you're in the Cincinnati area, please stop by one of our services on the first and third Sunday of each month at 10 a.m.